Thanks to World of Warships for sponsoring this video. If you asked someone today what defines CSGO's style, right now in 2023, what would they say? Would they even have an answer for you beyond bright skins and pristine maps? CSGO has gone through an insane amount of stylistic changes in the 10 plus years that it's been out. Some for the better and some for the worse. But has it gone too far? Have we reached a point where Counter-Strike Global Offensive isn't even Counter-Strike anymore? Are the years of constant new weapon skins and map updates finally taking their toll on CSGO? And will this game even be recognizable as a CS game in 5 years' time? I'll be taking a look at modern CSGO, and I'll be taking a look at old CSGO to find out which one was more based, epic, and red-pilled. And we'll find out along the way which one is blue-pilled, I guess. But before I could talk about that, let me talk about the gracious sponsor of today's video, World of Warships. World of Warships is a free-to-play naval shooter available for the PC. There's tons of ship classes to choose from, like battleships, destroyers, aircraft carriers, and cruisers, and you can battle it out in the open seas alone or with your friends. Unlike a lot of games these days, it's actually getting constantly updated with new content every month, whether it's ships, nations, or cosmetics, and you can count on the 12v12 madness of World of Warships to be a fresh gameplay experience every time. Oh yeah, it's also available on consoles, so you don't need the best hardware to enjoy the pretty graphics. If you're a person who's into water or warships or fun games that are free, you should give World of Warships a try using the link in the description. If you use the promo code BRAVO during the sign-up process, they'll give you exclusive rewards for free. That's great. I love boats, man. They're so epic. Make sure to click the link in the description for more information, and thanks to World of Warships for sponsoring this video. They're so nice to me. This is one of the earliest versions of CSGO out there. It was released in 2012, and is surprisingly still available for download using Steam's beta branch feature. So, let's go through both the most up-to-date version of CSGO and the oldest to see what's changed, and maybe some decade-old CSGO memories will come flooding back to you along the way. The maps are probably the most recent and most extreme change on this entire list. You probably remember around 2015 when Valve started completely redoing classic CS maps to better fit with their new vision for the game. Dust 2, Inferno, Train, Nuke, and more I'm probably forgetting were all given bright, competitive-oriented remakes. These changes are completely missing in 2012 CSGO, and the maps are much closer to their CS source lineage. I think the greatest demonstration of this is Nuke. Nuke in the current build of CSGO is bright, vibrant, and clean. There isn't a speck of dirt anywhere on the map. Now compare that to the 2012 version of Nuke, which is dirty, run down, and almost completely identical to the CS source version. To be honest, I do like this change. Sort of. New Nuke is undeniably better. It plays better, looks better, and gave us many epic, funny moments. But there's a certain amount of charm for the 2012 version that is just entirely lost. I think this pattern repeats itself in almost all of the CSGO map remakes. They look better than the 2012 versions, but they're completely devoid of any of the game's original intended style. Also, all of these original maps have a weird vignette/color correction thing going on that makes them look like a Linkin Park album cover. It's cool. It's edgy. I really love the way Inferno looks in modern CSGO, but take a look here at 2012 Inferno. It's dark, it's dirty, and it's lived in. This feels much more like a place the terrorists have taken siege of, and less like an arena designed specifically for people to shoot each other in. This video would be way too long if I went over every map in detail and listed all the changes, but in general, if I had to summarize the difference between maps in CSGO 2012 and modern CSGO, I'd say that they're much closer to CS source maps. They're a lot more brown and gray and less vibrant, and they're actually somehow more cohesive. When I look at maps from modern CSGO, I feel like they could be from just about any game. I've even seen some people describe them as Overwatch maps. Put a map like this next to all the crazy cosmetics that CSGO has, and it's easy to see why people make that claim. But in CSGO 2012, maps are undeniably Counter-Strike. They pay the respect to the maps that came before them while also accommodating a new style of gameplay. Who would have thought that you can do both? Also in CSGO 2012, there are casual versions of each map and competitive versions of each map. The competitive versions are dumbed down compared to the casual ones, so I guess CSGO losing its style for the sake of competitiveness is nothing new. Funnily enough, all the War Games maps are pretty much exactly the same. Shoots looks like shoots, Monastery looks like Monastery, and Baggage looks like Baggage. These maps really haven't changed since launch, and that probably explains why they feel so out of place in the current build of the game. Honestly, I'm a bit surprised Valve is even keeping War Games in the game at this point. Ouch! Why is he just there? Why are you there, you frickin' weird freak? Office has remained relatively untouched throughout the years, which is pretty funny and just kinda shows how much Valve hates hostage mode. Anyways, just for reference, this is Nuke in CS 1.6. This is Nuke in CS Source. This is Nuke in CSGO 2012. And this is Nuke in modern CSGO. And this is SSX Tricky for the PlayStation 2. The first thing you'll notice about CSGO 2012's weapon models is that there's a severe lack of ugly ass glowing dragon thing on your gun. Genuinely though, the weapon models and sounds have changed quite a bit. They're all held in slightly different angles or animated differently, and the gun sounds are much more punchy. The guns feel a lot heavier, more weighty, and in general just bigger. I understand that in CSGO 2012 the gun sounds were very samey, but it sure beats the plastic sounding fucking P90 from modern CSGO. Also, from what I can tell, the Deagle is just outright an entirely different model. If I had to guess, I'd say the way these guns sound and feel are probably remnants of when CSGO was actually making an effort to try to be a tactical console shooter. I'm torn on these changes. There are some from launch CSGO that I feel are undeniably better, and some from modern CSGO that are a clear improvement. For example, I actually kinda do like the new AK sound, it's dope. I will say though, the guns in CS 2012 have much more liberty to be held at interesting and natural angles, because they weren't designed to be walking giant billboards for skins. Once you realize that skin visibility is the reason modern CSGO's view models look the way that they look, it becomes a little less easy to defend them. Also, in CSGO 2012, CTs can use the Glock, that's just nasty, man, oh my goodness. Here's the Elite Crew as they appeared in CSGO 2012. Incredibly different from CS Source and CS 1.6, but still mostly recognizable to anyone who actually cares, and a decent looking generic terrorist model for just about everybody else. Alright, now here's the Elite Crew from modern CSGO. Okay, yeah, I mean this is actually pretty dope. Pretty epic. I personally find the Fortnitification of the Elite Crew to be one of the most evil changes made to Counter-Strike ever. Admittedly, yeah, the original 2012 Elite Crew also deviated very heavily from the original model, and so did CS 1.6's HD model pack, but that isn't nearly as egregious as making the Elite Crew Hollywood actors. Frankly, I didn't really see a problem with the original 2012 Elite Crew. They were visually interesting, looked like believable terrorists, and paid homage to the original Elite model from all the way back in 1.6. These guys look like they're made out of plastic or clay or something. I can appreciate how they might be useful for team visibility or recognition or something, but man, if only you knew how bad things really are. To give credit where it's due though, I do find the SAS for modern CSGO to be one of the best iterations of the model ever. The CSGO 2012 version and CS Source versions are decent, but CSGO's model is super faithful to the CS 1.6 original and also just happens to look pretty damn cool. The hostage player model is exactly the same as it currently is, duh, cause Valve does not give a shit about hostage mode. But the hostages in CSGO 2012 follow you around like CS Source. And in modern CSGO, you pick them up and they breathe in your ear and it's so weird. But hostages and Elite Crew remakes are far from the biggest threats to CSGO's style. That title would go to the relatively new Agent skins. Some of these things are just so nasty. There are some that make an earnest attempt to at least be somewhat Counter-Strikey, and then there are this one. If you thought the Elite Crew were bad, these guys are just a whole nother level, man. And again, I don't hate every change Valve made to the player models. I think the new FBI models are undeniably better than the old olive green ones. But I do still hate these nasty ass Phoenix reskins. What is this? It's a bit sad because Valve opening the floodgates and allowing players to buy skins could have been the start of something really cool. They did include this cool original Elite model reference as an Agent skin, but imagine reanimating dead CS player models like the Arctic Avenger. There were so many opportunities for Valve to reintroduce classic player models into CSGO and get paid while doing it, but they instead opted to add player models that look like they belong in fucking Payday 2. Player models are, I think, the key to CSGO's style. Everything has to be built around them. Maps, weapons, everything. Toss one of the newer player models into one of the earliest CSGO maps, and they look entirely out of place. Put the oldest player models in the newest maps, and it's the same exact story. Also, just for the record, I still think Counter-Strike Source's Elite model is the coolest CS player model in history. It's fucking awesome. The user interface. It's changed a lot over the years in CSGO, probably more than it has in just about any other game ever, but one thing remains true. The main menu music is fucking loud as hell. If you've been playing CSGO long enough and aren't a stinky noob, then you'll remember when CSGO's menu went from looking like this to this. This was called the Panorama UI update, and while it worked much better than the old one did, it was the final nail in the coffin for CSGO retaining any of its 2012 style, in my opinion. Sure, it works really well, and it's easier to navigate than the old one was, but it's also completely and utterly soulless. For reference, here's how the UI looked in CSGO 2012. Things are pretty simple to get to, it's straightforward, and there aren't a million things flying at you. I understand why they had to go from this UI to the Scaleform UI, but I don't understand why they had to go from the Scaleform UI to Panorama. It's just like it's like a mobile game. I really do love CSGO 2012's UI. It's probably not just nostalgia, it's cool, it's dope, and it looks like a tactical shooter. Pretty epic. I will say the new weapon inspection thing in the Panorama UI is just 10 times better though. Good job on that, I guess. So I guess to answer the question posed by the title of this video, yes, CSGO did lose its style, pretty undeniably so. Very little assets from the original release of CSGO are in modern CSGO at this point, and the game is fundamentally different. You may have noticed in this video, it sounded like I was treating CSGO 2012 and current CSGO as two different games, and that's because they effectively are. The weapons are entirely different. Player models are entirely different, maps are entirely different, and even the way the game looks when you launch it is entirely different. A lot of people will try to argue that I'm making a big stink over aesthetic changes to CSGO, and my response is, when is it too much? When CSGO is inevitably ported over to Source 2, will it be an entirely different game then? After all, it'll have different assets, maps, weapons, player models, gameplay, UI, and be on a brand new engine. So, when it comes to CS and live service games in general, how much is too much? I don't necessarily hate the new style that CSGO is running with, and there are some aspects of it like hand models that are undeniably better. But as the years pass and more things get added to CSGO, the original vision for what CSGO was supposed to be gets closer and closer to being lost. I'd love to see the launch version of CSGO get the same treatment that TF2 does, which is probably not possible without the source code, but imagine something like Pre-Fortress 2 or TF2 Classic, but for the launch version of CSGO. Maybe it'd be a lot more like Counter-Strike Source Part 2, and a little bit less of Battle Royale, Fortnite, Apex Legends, Dragon Skin Unboxing Simulator. Also, just for the record, my assistant works at Valve, and he says CS:GO Source 2 is coming out next week, and it's gonna have an SSX tricky minigame. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for giving me an incredible year on YouTube, and here's to a prosperous 2023. I've been Ratlobber, and I hope you enjoyed watching me eat doo-doo out of Valve's old toilet instead of its new one. Peace.